Hello, and welcome back to Norty's Forgotten Flicks. And with Gone Girl coming out next month, I choose not to pick that up. It got me thinking, is there a director working today with reputation as clean as David Fincher? I mean, even Nolan has his haters, but Fincher seems to be one of the few directors who manages to hype everyone up and then satisfy them with each new film. The only two that seem to get any major negativity are Alien 3, but to be fair, very few people blame him for that, and his 2002 home invasion movie, Panic Room, which personally is one of my favorites of his. Starring Jodie Foster as recently divorced Meg Altman, who moves into a new 4-story house in the Upper West Side of New York City with her daughter Sarah, played by Kristen Stewart. Inside the house is a panic room protected by concrete and steel the previous owner, a millionaire, had built to protect himself from anyone who might want to break in to try and steal his money. On their first night there, 3 men break into the house to steal $3 million in bearer bonds. The 3 men include the previous owner's grandson named Junior, played by Jared Leto, Vernon, an employee at the security company that built the panic room, played by Forrest Whitaker, and Raoul, a hired gunman who wears a ski mask played by Dwight Yoakam. After they break in, Meg and Sarah retreat into the panic room and tell them to take whatever they want and then leave. Unfortunately, the thing they want is in the panic room. Even more unfortunately, they have no phone as Meg had forgotten to set up the line. And even more unfortunately, Sarah has diabetes and her insulin levels are dropping. Now with little time and no way to contact anyone, Meg must use her brain and a lot of courage to save her and her daughter from the 3 intruders. Shot over a period of 120 days that included cast and crew changes during the filming process, Panic Room features, in my opinion, some of David Fincher's best direction. I love the way this movie is made. The lighting is dark, the editing is fantastic, and there are some cool camera tricks done here and there. It also blends practical and digital effects perfectly, and uses slow motion to its advantage instead of just being a cheap gimmick. The performances are all great. Foster and Stewart are both very likable and the villains are threatening. Because of this, the suspense is very high with some of the most intense games of cat and mouse I've ever seen in a film. The characters are smart too. Almost every decision they make is a logical one, and you rarely feel like yelling at the screen telling them to do something else. And it has one of the best opening title sequences I've ever seen, with the music perfectly setting the mood. The movie was written by David Koepp, who also wrote movies like Jurassic Park and some future Norty's Forgotten Flicks movies, War of the Worlds and Premium Rush. Despite this, the film is more of a director's movie. The screenplay is fine, but it wouldn't have been nearly as good without great direction. And the film was a huge hit, making almost $200 million and receiving a 76 approval rating on Rotten Tomatoes. However, time hasn't been great to it, with audience reaction being pretty mixed and the film being labeled as that okay David Fincher movie. So yes, Panic Room is essentially David Fincher's equivalent to Insomnia. The only 2 films that are usually labeled as worse are Alien 3 and The Curious Case of Benjamin Button. Rightfully so. But personally, I think this is a more solid film than movies like The Game, The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo, and yes, even Fight Club, which we'll talk about next time. Those were good films, and I guess you can call them more ambitious, but they were bogged down by lazy endings that go on for too long, or just feeling that they're more important than they actually are. Panic Room doesn't try to be anything more than a tense thriller, and for that it works out really well. Not to say it doesn't have problems. Some of the plot elements get a little too contrived. Oh, of course the 3 invade the night they buy the house, so there was no time to set up the phone. Of course Meg knows how to tap a phone line. Of course they can light a lighter in a room filled with gas and it will all rise to the ceiling. There's also this weird scene with the cops that might be justifiable, but it really bothers me. The cop even tells Foster that she can send the cop a non-verbal sign to let them know someone's in the house, which doesn't seem to matter since they can't hear what they're saying anyway. I know she wants to protect her daughter, but she could just say, yes, there are robbers in the panic room upstairs with my daughter, and if you guys come in, they will kill her. so maybe hold off until I can get her out. Then there's the epilogue, which is so short and really doesn't add anything. It basically just says, here are what the characters are doing on this one certain day at this one certain time. The end. Now I will say the first half is the better half. Not to say the second half is bad, but it does have more of the problems that I mentioned earlier. In fact, my favorite scene is the scene where Meg and Sarah retreat into the panic room. I mean, you know they make it. If they didn't, then this would be incredibly false advertising. But it's still one of the most intense scenes I've ever seen in a thriller.
Talk to her, little girl. I've got the mother. Give me.
Wake up. Sarah. Sarah, get up. What are you there for?
Where you going? Huh?
So overall, Panic Room is a great thriller with some great performances, tight editing, and some of David Fincher's best direction. It may not be the most ambitious film ever made, but it's suspenseful and never tries to be anything more than what it is. And it's short, clocking in at just under 2 hours so it doesn't overstay its welcome like some other David Fincher movies. Yeah, I'm looking at you, Benjamin Button. If you haven't seen the movie, check it out, especially if you're a David Fincher fan. So, I thank you all for watching, and I will see you next time. Bye. Now if you'll excuse me, I'm gonna go set up my emergency phone line so I never have to go through the shit these two went through.